Welcome to another exciting biblical story. But as you know, King David had a hard time from that day on when he disobeyed God. Before that, whatever King David did, God blessed him with success. But when he sinned with Bathsheba and, he committed adultery, he was married and Bathsheba was married, and King David even killed her husband. So King David was guilty in bloodshedding and adultery, breaking marriage. And Nathan said that he will not have peace in his family, that he will have strife in the family, and even bloodshedding. And also the sin David did in secret will be done openly with his wives. And Nathan was a prophet, and exactly what Nathan said came to pass. So these were very, very, very hard times for David. But what I admire in David, he was so humble. He took everything from God. He didn't look to the evil one. He took everything what happened from God. And he thought, yes, God is punishing me. I deserve now what I have been doing wrong. And he was very, very humble, a wonderful man. And of course the time came when God lifted him up again. But still, this was a time of trouble. And trouble starts when people do things behind the back of another. So his own son, ABSALOM, he was in front of the city gates and he was looking really beautiful with his long hair, and he had horses and a chariot, and 50 beautiful, handsome men were running in front of him. And, he looked like a real king, but he was not the king. So he was sitting there, and all the people who wanted to say something to the king, who had complaints, he welcomed. Oh, where are you from? Oh, you're from the north. Oh, what kind of sorrows do you have? Oh, I wish you success. Oh, I wish, the king has no time for you. I wish that God would make me king to judge right. He welcomed them, he kissed them, he was nice to them, he gave them right, even perhaps they were sometimes wrong. So slowly, all the people of Israel more and more started loving ABSALOM. So the next thing he did wrong was, so ABSALOM lied to his father. If someone is lying and making a complot, doing something behind the back of the other person who is in charge, it will not be successful. So he was lying. He said, when I was in Gershom, I gave a vow to God that I would sacrifice in Hebron. Father, do you allow me to sacrifice in Hebron? Of course you can. But ABSALOM had something else in mind. He wanted to take the kingship of David. So more and more people joined ABSALOM. Even the priests, can you imagine? Perhaps close friends from King David suddenly changed over. This must have hurt David so much, very much. I think David was very, very sad. So, of course, David heard what Absalom wanted to do, make himself king. So he said, we have to flee from Jerusalem. I leave only 10 of my wives here to look for the palace, but we have to go. He will be the new king. I think they announced him to be the king of Israel. So we are in life danger. So he packed everything and he was crying so much. He was leaving Jerusalem. But he sent back the secret chest to Jerusalem, and he left over the Olive Mountain, and Ziba came and gave him many, many presents, you know, monkeys with a lot of bread and corn and wine, and said, oh, I give that as a gift to you when you have to go to the desert. Oh, thank you, Ziba. What is with Mephibosheth? Oh, well, he stayed in Jerusalem in case that he will be king after Saul. But you know what? Ziba lied also. And King David trusted him and said, you get everything what Mephibosheth owns. But later on, he divided again when he had heard the truth. Yes, and suddenly they came to a valley, you know, and when King David left Jerusalem, the people were crying and mourning. But there was a division. Some went to Absalom, and they just were nice to him now. But some stayed with David, even areas he conquered, kings he conquered. They said, we will go with you. We are faithful to you. You know, sometimes people are nice to you, but if you have no influence anymore, if you're not good enough anymore, then they turn against you. They're not real friends. So we should be real friends and stick to one another in good days and in bad days. If we have more than enough or if we have less, we should share. Be nice to one another. Be faithful to our friendships and not do things behind the back of another person who is in charge or in authority. So this caused such a lot of trouble, tears, sorrows, heart pain. So David had to flee from Jerusalem, and he took his whole household with him except of 10 women, beautiful women. They should care for the palace, as I said, and then they left. So they came to a valley, and there was Shimei. He was a descendant of King Saul. And you know what he did? He was throwing stones at King David. Oh, you received to die. You have done so much bloodshedding. Oh, now your son is king, and I just curse you. I wish you the worst. You are as good as a dog. Oh, he spoke so bad against King David. And you know, King David had strong soldiers with him. One word and he would have been killed. But David didn't do that. He said, God allowed Shimei to curse me. Don't do any harm to him. But the cursing he did, the bad words he spoke to him, made him very, very weak. And also all the people who were with him. So they had to rest nearby. So if people curse one another, if they speak negative about one another, they weaken one another. And it takes away strength from them. But we have to react like David. He did even something what Yeshua said. Yeshua said, bless those who curse you. Be good to your enemies. So David took even the hard time from God. He was so humble. Yes, and he prayed that evil plans which his son had and the officers will not come to pass. And God answered his prayers. God was still with David because David loved God with all his heart. And even the hard times in his life, he said yes to. Yes, God, I take it from you. I'm not taking revenge. Yes, and the time came when God lifted him up again. But first, the bad things had to happen. Absalom came to Jerusalem, and it's right, on the roof he took the wives of King David openly. What Nathan said, the prophet, that was very hard for David. Yeah, but it still happened. But what then happened, because the time came when God lifted David up again. You know, God knows how much we can carry, how much we can bear. And if it's enough, he said it's enough. So the time came when God helped him mightily, and when he would go back to Jerusalem. But still he had to have some sorrow, some tears, till that time came. But how everything happens, I will tell you in the next program.